My name is Farhan Ahmed. I'm the founder and CEO of Bento for Business. And we're going to talk about something a little different. It's really about transforming business banking and not consumer banking. So it's a little bit different, hopefully a change of pace for everybody here. Um, We've talked a lot about this morning about disrupting banking and disrupting banking services. And the good news is that you can apply for about 50% of all banking products through a mobile phone now, which is a marked and rapid change over the years, but only if you're a consumer. If you're a business, that number suddenly shrinks down to 1%. Which is really ironic because, unfortunately, the business hours of a bank and of a small business are exactly the same. So it's the most inconvenient for that particular demographic, but they're just not serviced that way. Now, sometimes this is just inconvenient, right? It's just, yeah, okay, so his timing doesn't work out. They'll figure out a way. It's not the end of the world. But sometimes it can actually be pretty catastrophic and leads to businesses shutting down. And you may be thinking, this guy is being very, very dramatic, and there's no way businesses shut down because of banking. And you're right, businesses don't shut down because of banking, but this is one of those few cases where businesses can thrive because of great banking services. You see, the number one problem, or one of the largest problems facing small businesses is employee misuse of funds. And 33% of all businesses in the US that shut down do so because of employee theft, fraud, and misuse. That's a very large number that nobody ever talks about, but that's why I'm here, to talk about that number. That number adds up to $3.7 trillion lost each year globally to employee theft, fraud, and misuse for small and medium businesses. That's a $3.7 trillion problem that very few people are even thinking about addressing. Now, what happens is, most businesses know this is an issue. They say, yeah, I know other businesses, everybody steals, but this is an HR problem. They've hired the wrong people. This won't happen to us. They justify it by many things. They say, well, I know my employees. They will never steal from us. We do background checks. They're like family. The problem is, this is not an HR problem. Sometimes these things happen inadvertently, sometimes they're deliberate, but this is not an HR problem. This is very much a systems problem. This is a problem of control and not having tools and services that help you do this, which is where the good news comes in that banks can do this. And we know this because the total losses for SMBs are double what it is for large enterprises, which makes no sense. You can say, how can a company with 30 employees lose more in dollar volume, in dollar numbers, not percentage, than a company with 3,000 employees? Makes no sense. But it does make sense because large companies have access to really, really good treasury services from banks. And if you work in the treasury part of a bank, and you've never heard this before, but you are in fact a hero. And nobody will ever tell you that, but for a small business you can be, because all of this stuff is salvageable by great treasury services. A simple commercial card can plug and stop most of this leakage. And you can see where it happens. People submitting old receipts, people spending on the weekends, people submitting the same expense report again and again. This is very common things that cannot be caught by Concur and the likes of that. But this is real. But this can be stopped by a treasury product or a commercial card. But if you're a small business, unfortunately, that option is not available to you. Here's your options. You can choose whether you want to go utility or cost. You can use cash, which is really the worst of all options, but the number one way people manage expenses if you're an SMB. You can use something called a small business credit card, which is really a consumer card that looks a little bit different, the small business part of it coming in the form of discounts and rewards. If you're large enough, you may qualify for some sort of a commercial card, but it'll be very, very difficult to use. You may need a degree just to do that, and very, very expensive and cumbersome. But there's nothing in the really sweet spot until now, and that's where Bento comes in. We built Bento to address just this problem. So Bento provides smart corporate cards that can be controlled remotely through a phone, desktop, website, wherever you are. Wherever your employees are, wherever you are, you can control when, where, and how much your employees can spend. We've taken the best features of large corporate cards, put them in the cloud, and exposed them in a very simple and easy to use way for SMBs to give them the same benefits that large enterprises have at no cost and no resource. How does it work? It's very simple. We give you very simple controls. Now, we can give you tons of controls, but then it'll make it complex. We let you set spend limits by day, week, month, or any duration, which is very different from a credit card that lets you do only monthly spending limits, which, as you'll talk to any SMB, none of them have a predictable monthly cycle. So the weekday things really work well. We can tell you what day of the week this can be used in and what categories it can work in. And everything is controlled by simple on-off buttons that a child can use, and you can switch this card off or on any given time, whenever you want, wherever your employee is, in real time, all this stuff happens. We give you dashboards, not statements. We give you mobile apps that actually have utility around receipt capture and two-way SMS, where you can actually control the card from the SMSs as well. We're a very young company, launched last year. We've grown massively since we launched. We have very high customer satisfaction based in San Francisco. We announced our Series A just this afternoon, and we're happy and willing to talk to any companies that want to change treasury services and banking for businesses. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.